Hello viewers and welcome to my channel. My name is Robert and today we do another video about Java programming. The main topics that we'll discuss today is calculations in Java, variables, types of variables and how to use them, also input from the user which is made via the keyboard. This is a very interesting topic, so stick around and I'll give you some examples and we go through the tutorial together. And if you want to learn more about Java programming, just click the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get some notifications when I'm posting new videos. And at the end of the video, if you enjoy it, give a thumbs up if you consider. Now, let's get started. As we said, in Java we can do mathematical calculations. From our previous video, we saw that we can print a message on the screen, and with the same method, with the print method, we can do also mathematical calculations such as addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Now let's take an example here. We are replacing the hello world we used and we replace it with a mathematical example, an addition. Just type in there, let's say a mathematical calculation, and we will write 10 plus 20, right? And we are running the program. You will see on the output that we got the result, which is 30. Now moving forward, let's talk about variables. So variables in Java are like, let's say, like boxes, like containers which can store the data in Java. So in this way you need to imagine they are. And there are different types of variables in Java, and we can see here some examples. So we have integer example. As you can see, it's called int is a variable that stores whole numbers. For example, 1, 2, -4, -40. Another type of variable is double. This is storing real numbers, both positive and negative with decimal points. Next variable type is char, which is a character. This is a variable that stores only characters. Another type of variable is Boolean. So this type of variable, it stores only one of the values, so it can be either true or false. Another type of variable is called string. This type of variable can store text data type, like messages, for example. Now you may wonder, how do we declare the variables? How do we write the variables in Java? So the rule is, when you want to write a variable, you need to put first the type of the variable, for example, int or double, plus the name, followed by a semicolon. Now also we can give a value to our variables. So if we want to give a value, to assign a value into a variable, we write the type of the variable first, then we put the name, and we give a value, we put an equal and the value we want to assign. Now depending on the type of the variable, we need to make sure that we assign the appropriate value to that variable. So in this example, because I have an integer, I will assign a whole number, 24. Something that we need to pay attention and keep in mind is when we are assigning a value to a char variable, to a character, we need to put that value between apostrophes. So in my example here, for the variable y, which is a character, I assign it the value v, but I've put it between apostrophes, followed by a semicolon. There are more variable types in Java. I just gave you a short list, the ones that we will use the most in these examples, in the next videos as well. But you can have a look on online and you will find lists with variables. If you really want to know more variables, for the moment, these variables will be enough for us so we can do our videos and tutorials. Let's do another example now. So if we want to write a message when we are displaying our variables, for example, if we want to print the number is, the message, the number is, we want to print it before we print the variable. So in our example here, we have the variables and we declare it already. And we want to write the message just before the X. So before the X, we want to put the message. I'm gonna type the number is, and we want to display it. So in this case, when we run the code, we will get an error because between the message and the variable, we need to do something else, which is a plus sign. And in this case, the plus sign doesn't make the addition, but instead what it does is to concatenate the message and the variable x, so to put them together and display them together on the screen, as we can see in the output when we run the program again. Right, now as we said on the beginning of this video, we will learn in this tutorial how to read the input from the user. So what that means, it means that if we want the user to type the values that we want them to be printed on the display, how do we do that? So this is the meaning of input from the user. So for example, in our exercise here, if we want the user to put the values into the variable x or y, or how do we do that? Java is coming with implemented class. Is like a file, a special file which contains a code, and this file will help us to do the input. So the name of the file of the class is called scanner. So we will use this in order so we can get the input from the user. To be able to use the scanner class, we need first to call it, to import it from those files stored in Java. So one way to import the scanner class is import java.util.scanner. So what this does is importing from the Java, going in the utility folder and taking the scanner class and bring it into the code that we are writing, into the block of code. After we import the scanner into our program, we need to write the code so we can use this scanner class. The code we need to write, it looks like this, and what it means. So it's like the variable type, we will just call it in this case scanner, and instead of variable, this is called object, but also we need to name it. The same like in variable, we give the name to the object. So for example, we will call it keyboard followed by an equal. So to this object, what do we need to assign? We will give it a new scanner followed by parentheses system.in. Now we know from the previous video that system.in is used when we receive the input from somewhere, and now in our case it's from the keyboard from the user. Then we will end the instruction with a semicolon. And now we want the user to insert the values to a new variable. So this new variable that we will use for the input, we will assign to it, as in this example, x equals keyboard, keyboard meaning the object. So it's like the connection between the x and the user, dot next int, in this example, followed by parentheses and a semicolon. Don't forget, very important, when you write next int, make sure int is with a capital I, otherwise it's not gonna work. Right, what if we want the user to type in a double? So in this case, we will just change next int with next double. Same rule apply, double must be with a capital D, followed by parentheses and a semicolon, otherwise the code is not going to work. Let's take another example when we want the user to type in a character. So in this case, the code is a bit different, will be the object name, which is keyboard in our example, dot next, followed by parentheses, dot char at, with a capital A for at, followed by parentheses with 0 in between, followed by semicolon. Now I know it might sound like a lot of code, but this is how we need to use it. So I will explain later on the meaning of that number in between the parentheses. For the moment we will stick with this. Now let's put in practice what we've learned. So we will just first introduce the scanner object. So let's start by importing the scanner class. Yeah, so import java.util.scanner, okay, followed by semicolon. We don't need the variables now here because we will declare the values. So first, before we can declare the values, we need to use that scanner. So we'll call it as an object. We create that object called keyboard. Next, scanner system.in, followed by semicolon. And as we said, we want to type in the value of x. So we just delete the print line so we can sit on the same line. We just use it a print command now. So x now gets the value of keyboard, which is the object. Next, int, followed by parenthesis, followed by semicolon. Now let's run the program to see what happens. The number is, and is asking for a number, is waiting for us to type. I'll just type 10 and hit enter. And there we go, we have a successful build program. Now let's do one more example. Let's say that we want to find out the sum between two numbers, but these two numbers we want the user to type them into our program. So what we will do, we will start by changing a bit the code that we written already. So I'll just type in here, let's say input the first number, right? And I'll keep x as the first number. Yeah, I'll use the same command with system.out.print. I'll just change input with the second number, right? And now because we have y already declared as an integer, I'll use that for the second number. Same, we use the keyboard object from the scanner class to use it for another integer number. Now if we want to find out the sum, we need to declare first the sum as an integer into our program. And once we declare that, we can write the sum to be x plus y followed by semicolon. So to the variable sum, I'll give it x plus y values. Now let's write another statement here. So let's give an instruction, system.out.println, because it will be a new line. And let's say, let's write a text here, a message to be displayed. The sum is, and we use the plus sign to concatenate with the variable sum. We run the code and it's asking on the output for the first number, and then input the second number. And once we type the second number, hit enter, and it will display the sum and also make the calculation, and it's built successful. Now you know how to read the input from the user to make use of scanner classes, which Java comes built in, like I said, and you can give it more practice by trying different exercises on your own and see how it works. But for the moment, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also click the bell icon if you want to receive notifications when I'm posting new videos. I hope I'll see you next time, and I wish you all the best.